Doesn't it feel great to be alive on a Friday Eve afternoon or a Thursday afternoon on YouTube or what? And doesn't it feel great to be alive and actually know that it is finally a Friday Eve or what? Hey guys, Ryan here, and yes guys, it is finally a Friday Eve, which means it is Thursday. Happy Thursday, but most importantly, happy Friday Eve to all of you wonderful people. I am so glad you guys are here for today's episode. But let's get started, shall we? Welcome back to the channel of Positive Time with Ryan. So today's episode was supposed to be what yesterday's episode was about. So I do apologize for that, but we are going to talk about what the difference is between a behavioral hospital and a mental hospital. And then I will go over some of the most crazy, insane mental/behavioral hospital rules. And before I get into it, all these rules was during my experience. So guys, you probably hear the term a behavioral hospital, and of course we know the term mental hospital, and you're probably saying, is there a difference? And number one, that is a good question, because yes, there is actually a difference between a behavioral hospital and a mental hospital. The biggest difference is that a behavioral hospital is usually known as a short-term hospital for mental health. So a behavioral hospital can house people that are suffering mental health issues or drug issues or alcohol issues and all of that. It's basically known as a short-term mental hospital. So instead of, saying mental hospital, they usually call it a behavioral hospital. But really the rules between a behavioral hospital and a mental hospital are very, very similar. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But to answer your question, yes, there is a difference between a behavioral hospital and a mental hospital. Okay guys, so what I'm about to talk about is the craziest rules that were enforced in a behavioral hospital or a mental hospital. And remember, this is my experience and all that. Everybody's experience is different, but this was just during my experience. One of the biggest, craziest rules is that you actually could not walk in the hallway if you did not have socks on. You had to have socks on to actually be walking in the hallway. Another crazy rule, speaking actually about the hallway, is you had to stay on the side of the hallway that your room was in. So if your room was on the left-hand side when you were walking in the hallway, no matter what, you had to remain on the left-hand side. If your room was on the right-hand side, you had to remain on the right side. There was no what they call it is cross-cutting and all that. That was really two big crazy rules regarding the hallway. But another rule that was actually big is really and this is actually the crazy one, is that I know people like to talk and all that. So during group, one of the biggest rules was that you were not allowed to whisper to your neighbor or someone else at all. That was a big nana in group. You could actually get kicked out of group and sent back to your room, which would result in you a loss of privilege. So that was really a rule I never broke, but I saw a lot of the other patients on the unit breaking that rule. And don't get me wrong, I fully understand why they have that rule, but also it's like, okay, maybe not a big deal, Maybe you want to talk, say something to your neighbor and you don't want to interrupt the person that is talking. So that was another one. But also, really, guys, is actually the biggest key you got to know about being in a behavioral or a mental hospital is you don't have the freedom and the rights you do out in society. And like an example is you cannot use the phone until 10 o'clock in the morning. You cannot, depending on if it was a Monday through Friday or the weekend, you may not be allowed to even watch TV until 6, 7 o'clock at night. In some instances, you are actually required to go to group. There is no option to it. So that's a really big takeaway. You don't really get a lot of choices or decisions that you get to make. But yeah, this is actually not really this wasn't a rule that I found crazy, but I was in a facility where if your notebook was on your bed, you got a loss of a privilege just for that. I've known facilities that they are not big on making your bed. In my household, I am required to make my bed before I even have a cup of coffee in the morning. In a lot of facilities, they're not big on that. And I mean, I get it. But yeah, the biggest rule that I actually found crazy or outrageous was the 2 hallway rules. Number 1, that you had to remain on the side of where your room was at, and you couldn't be in the hallway without socks. Also, another rule, guys, if you are a guy and you wear leggings, you have to have either shorts over the leggings or pants. If you are a guy, you cannot walk out in the hallway with just leggings on. You will literally get sent back to your room. So that's another outrageous rule, because I see the lady and all that. But speaking of the women on the unit, when I was in Intermountain, this was as a juvenile, I was not allowed to talk to any of the female patients on the unit. That was a rule that you lost 20 points if you got caught doing that. So it got you in a lot of trouble. So, I mean, you know what? I always get told rules are made for a reason. I truly am a believer of that. Rules are made for 1000% a reason. So, you know what, guys? If you want to ask me if I ever broke these rules, there were a couple of them I did, but I didn't break them again, So, yeah, I mean, those are really the most outrageous rules. There weren't really strict rules about mealtime and all that. I mean, you had a 45-minute gap to eat, So you had more than plenty of time, in my opinion, to eat. So, yeah, I mean, those were just a couple of the biggest rules that were outrageous. I could probably, if I really do all my hard thinking, I could probably find a million more. But those are just some of the most crazy and outrageous rules in a mental or behavioral hospital. Okay, guys, I do apologize again. I was supposed to do this episode yesterday, and I didn't, so we kind of flip-flopped episodes. So, sorry I didn't do it yesterday, but at least I got it done today, only one day late. But again, guys, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I am more than happy to share some of the other things in my mental hospital experience, just let me know down below in the comment section on what ones you would like to see. I also apologize for doing an episode in the garage. My mom is on a business meeting right now, so I kind of had to come out here. But other than that, guys, that is all I have. So drop a like if you enjoyed. And I will see you all right back here in the next episode.